Good morning, room 218. This is Mrs. Tonis here again. Now I'm going to be working on the back of the page we were working on yesterday. Before I do, I just kind of wanted to review the basics of estimating quotients. Alright, so let's take a look at this. Now, what we have to do is be very familiar with all of the multiples of a particular number. And I'm going to pick ones that we're very familiar with. So that way that everybody will have some success at this. We're going to divide by 5. And so that means that we have to be very familiar with our multiples of 5. Most of us are. Now if I have the number 347, what we're really looking for is a multiple of 5 that is close to 347. And as I said yesterday, we really don't want to look at the last number. We really want to just look at the first 2 digits of our 3-digit number, 34. And think about what number would be close as a multiple of 5 that's close to 34. And I hope most of you would realize that 35 would be very close to 34. And we can think of that, and also that we want to keep it a 3-digit number, so we're going to take 35 and we're going to think of it as 350 because that is close to 347. As we look at the 35 portion of 350, we have to think 5 times what would equal 35. So if you know your 5's times table very well, and I hope you do, 5 times 7 gets us very close to 35. So we know that if we have to come up with both, that the multiple that is closest to 347 is 350. We also need to know that the actual quotient that's below that, that would be 5 times 6, or 5 times 60, would be 300. You can definitely see how we're much closer to 350 than we are to 300 when we're looking at 347. So our best estimated quotient for 347 divided by 5 is 70. Now let me see if I can get rid of all of this and start again with one more. Alright, so let's try that again, and let's do one more. Let's do one that's another maybe fairly familiar multiple chart you should know pretty well is 3, counting by 3's. How about we do 251. Now, when we look at 25, we can think, what would be close to a multiple of 3 that is close to 25? We don't want to think about the 251 just yet. And I'm thinking, I know that 27 is the next multiple above 25 if we're counting by 3's, and that 24 is the multiple of 3 that is just below the 25. In order to make them 3-digit numbers, we're going to change and multiply each one by 10 by putting the 0 there. And as we look, this would be 3 times 90 to get to 270. And down here it would be 3 times 80 to get to 240. Which of these compatible numbers is closest to 251? Well, here we're adding 19 to get to 270, and we're only subtracting 11 to get to 240. So 240 is closer, so therefore 80 would be our best estimated quotient for 251 divided by 3. Now let's just take a quick look at this. It says it's a hot scale, but I think we can do it. It's talking about dolphins here. And let's read that together. If a bottlenose dolphin can eat 175 pounds of fish, squid, and shrimp in a week, how many pounds of food does it eat in a day? So we're going to, we know we need to find out how many pounds of food does it eat in a day. And day is very critical here. Now, we know that our figure 175 is how many pounds it eats of the fish, squid, and shrimp in a week. But since we want to know per day, what are we dividing by? How many days are in a week? Think about it. I know you know the answer to this. Right, 7 days in a week. We'd be dividing 175 by 7. Now, we're really going to have to decide who has the best answer here. We have a boy named Milo who says the answer is about 20 pounds, and a girl named Leah who says the answer is about 30 pounds. Who is correct? So let's just check this out here. Again, I'm going to just worry about underlining the 17 part, 107/10 part of the 175, and I'm thinking about multiples of 7. Now when I count by sevens, I know right below 17, I'm going to say 14, because I know counting by 7 is 7 and then 14. And then what's the next one after that? What is 14 plus 7? 21. So what we're going to do is decide which one it's closest to. All right? So if we did, and I'm going to obviously multiply each of these by 10, because we're dealing with a 3-digit number here. So 175 is in between these two multiples of 7, 140 and 210. Now if we were to multiply 7 by 30, then that would be a product of 210. If we were to multiply 7 by 20, we would get the product of 140. Now when you think about this, Milo says the answer is about 20 pounds, so he's thinking that the answer is here. And Leah says the answer is about 30 pounds, so she is up here. And really we have to decide which one of those is 175 closest to. And when you think about it, if we had to figure out the difference between 175 and 210, it is a difference of 35. If we're to think about the difference between 140 and 175, the difference between those two numbers is also 35. So what do you think about that? I think this is why this is a hot skill. So if they're both different from 175 by 35, then who's correct? Is it Milo, who says it's 20? Here's Milo. Or is it Leah, who says it's about 30? Well, after you think about it, what would you say to the answer, they're both right? Now, I think that absolutely that's the answer they're looking for. Milo and Leah are both right. Neither one of these estimated quotients is closer than the other. They're equally distant from the actual dividend that we're dividing by 7. So how would you explain that they're both right? I think you could use my reasoning right here. They're both correct because both of those quotients are equally distant from the actual quotient. Or another way to say it is that the real answer, the actual answer, is going to be in between, perfectly in between 20 and 30. Now if we think about it, I bet we could figure out what number would that be that is exactly between the estimated quotient of 20 and 30. What is the number? We can actually come up with the real answer. Good. The real actual answer, exact answer, is 25, because that is exactly in between the estimated quotients of 20 and 30. And since 175 is exactly between 210 and 140, this is not even an estimated quotient, it's the actual quotient. Now here's another one. A mother bottlenose ate about 278 pounds of food in 1 week. About how much food did she eat in a day? Now again, we have this 278 pounds over here, okay? And that is the amount given for a week. So since we don't want the week, we want only how much she eats in a day, what are we dividing by again? Converting from a week to a day means we are dividing by how many days there are in a week, and that's 7. We're going to follow the same strategy that we've done before. This is a really big number, so we're just going to look at the first 2 digits to make it more understandable to us. We have to find 2 multiples of 7, one greater than 27 and one less than 27, because 27 is not a multiple of 7. So we can put 28, because that is a multiple of 7, and 21 is the other multiple of 7 that surround the actual target number of 27. Now, because this is a 3-digit number, we're going to multiply 28 by 10. We're going to multiply 21 by 10, which means that our two possible quotients are 28 divided by 7 is 4, but not 4 this time because we want 280. That's 40. And then we have 21 divided by 7, which isn't. The 21 divided by 7 is 3, but we're doing 210. So instead of 3, we're going to have 30. So our actual quotient is in between 40 and 30. Now, which one is it closest to? Well, as we look at the number 278, we can see that it is by far closest to 280. It's only actually different by 2. So our real actual quotient is going to be very close to 40. And that is our estimated quotient. We would say, about how much food did she eat in a day? And I would not ever write 40 because that doesn't answer the question. So we're going to write about 40 pounds. I shouldn't have two L's there. About 40 pounds per day. Okay? So there we go. Sorry about the extra L. Now one last one, and we're going to try it together. 4 families went out for lunch. The total food bill came to $167. I'm going to write that here. I'm going to pull that bit of information out. And I know I have 4 families. Okay? So we have $160. The family also left a $30 tip for the waitress. So to the total cost, we're going to be adding $30. I don't know if you've ever paid a bill in a restaurant, but you have to tip the waitress. So we're going to have to add these two together first. And I know I can do that in my head because there's no regrouping for this. So we're going to do 167 plus 30. But you can do it too. Right, 197 is the total bill. Now, they've got to, since they each spend about the same amount, if you've ever been out with a large group of people, if you're spending about the same amount, everybody agrees to just split the bill. Now, since we have 4 families, then we're splitting the bill 4 ways, or the total amount, 197, divided by 4. Now again, we don't have to find the exact answer. We don't know how to do that yet. We will soon, but right now we don't. So it's good that they're asking us about how much did each family spend on dinner. I'm explaining now how we found our answer, because you would have to say step 1 would be to add the 2 amounts, the amount of the food plus the tip, to get the total. Then take the total, divide it by 4, and we're going to find the 2 multiples of 4 that are close to 19. Don't worry about 197, just the first 2 digits. Now I know that 20 is a multiple of 4, and then I also know that right below that, if I'm counting by 4s or looking at my 4s times table with all the multiples of 4 listed, 16 is the one right below it. So if I was going to do 4 times 5, that would get me to 20, but 20 isn't close to 197. I have to multiply 20 by 10. I have to multiply 16 by 10, and now we know that it's not 4 times 5, but 4 times 50 gets us to 200, or 4 times 40 gets us to 160, because 4 times 4 is 16. And looking at this, we can definitely see that 197 is much closer to 200. So therefore, our best estimated quotient is about $50. So you would say about, and I should write that, $50, I'll put it this way, is about how much each family spent. I have to put about in there somewhere, and since I forgot to put it in front of the $50, I just put it in here somewhere. So guys, thank you for listening. I hope this helped, and I really hope you don't give up on this strategy. It's a great way to estimate quotients. So you can watch this again, you can stop me, you can pause me, you can rewind me, and I'll see you all tomorrow. And my pen actually was working pretty good tonight. I don't know why. It works better, but I'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for listening.